Okay. Well, I thought last episode was me going off in psychology. Well, this is much worse. So, we start off with what those red lights are. That's basically him trying to bring up memories of Frances because he's aware she has dementia. So we see Frances, even though we see her as an old woman, she looks in the mirror and sees herself as she was when she was young, which makes sense. I mean, we're talking dementia. So she has this scene with Rex Calabrese, who seems to genuinely care about her. And he's talking about Oz, how he keeps coming up by the store, because we know that he's obsessed with Rex Calabrese. He's just thinks he's the greatest thing ever. And yeah, she admits that she's known all along. So the reason she was shutting herself in wasn't because she was just mourning Jack and Benny, which obviously she was doing that. She never actually stopped mourning them because she was fully aware that Oz left them. Now, she might not have been aware that Oz was too stupid to realize that when he closed the door, he locked them in. Because we saw last week how he kept looking out the window expecting them to come. And of course they're not going to come. How can they come when you lock them in? I mean, I don't think adults would have been able to get out of there, let alone a couple of little kids. So we get the backstory. Frances has known from the beginning, because she's a very intelligent woman. She's figured out that she is, in her words, living with the devil. And so then Rex gives her an opportunity where he'll kill Oz for her. Now, being a mom, she just couldn't bring herself to let Rex kill Oz. And so we see Oz being taken by Sophia's goons, and he is put in front of her. And this is supposed to be some weird therapy session where Oz admits to everyone that that what his mom thinks is the truth. And now, whether Oz just doesn't want to bring himself to admit it because he honestly doesn't realize, after all these years, it doesn't sink in that he actually killed his brothers, or he just is that deep in delusion. Either in delusion, or he just simply refuses to tell the truth to himself that he's actually the one who killed his brothers. So, they threaten Frances, which I was kind of bummed about, that they were threatening to cut off her pinky, because hasn't this woman been through enough? She raised the devil's spawn. I mean, Why do that to her? I mean, I understand that it was meant to hurt Oz. Because, Sophia suggested that he must not really love his mother because he won't admit the truth. But, like I said, I wonder if he fully understands what the truth is. I mean, he might understand that Jack and Benny died that night, but it probably didn't connect that they died because he locked them into the sewer drain. So, yeah. It might just simply be that he just either refuses to make the connection or he just never bothered to think about it long enough to make the connection. So, his mom has an episode and she collapses after she yells at him, and he just keeps going how it's the disease. No, sweetheart. Dementia, granted, dementia does... People with dementia do make up stories because they don't remember stuff. But the thing about dementia is that you put yourself into a happier time. It's not that you are a complete moron. At least not initially. It's just that you are more and more living in a world of your construction, which usually entails what things were like when you were younger. So, and let's face it, Julian is a psychiatrist. Now, granted, it has happened before that psychiatrists have actually done more harm in some of their therapies. That there's definitely been cases like that. And so, but still, like I said, either Oz refuses to accept that he's actually the one who killed his brothers, or he still never, either because he never made the connection, or he just doesn't want to admit it because that would show weakness, and he doesn't want to show weakness. One of the two. It could go either way easily. So, he uses that opportunity to get his way out of there and carry his mom with him. Because after all this, and after hearing that his mom was planning on having Rex Calabrese kill him, he's just completely in denial. He refuses to accept that. And he gets her to a hospital. His mom actually injured him. I honestly thought, is this how he dies? But there was too much time left in the episode, so obviously not. So he takes her to the hospital and calls Victor. Victor finds him, and first Victor tries to get the gang members. He's telling the gang members about helping Oz, but once they see that the drug operation is gone, they don't give two shits about Oz. They just care about the drugs. So they all took off. And Victor tries to give one of Oz's speeches, but considering Victor is coming from a place of empathy for people, whereas these guys don't give a shit, they just want money. So Lynn, or was it Link? I'm not sure, punches him in the gut and basically tells him, know your place or you're going to get yourself killed. And so At first I thought that the guy he came across in the rubble was Link. But it sounds like they were calling this other guy Link, so I don't know. So he gets to the hospital and he asks about his mom, and Oz is very very general. He doesn't really tell Victor much because he knows that if he tells Victor, that everything might come crumbling down. So they leave the hospital, and Sophia in the meantime has her own meeting with all the heads of different gangs, and basically telling them that she's leaving Gotham. I assume her plan was to go to Italy. And she decides that, she needs to divvy up the properties. She needs to basically hand over the reins to a new gang member. And she's like, okay, who wants it? And everybody's very confused because she didn't actually explain the part about I'm giving away all my shit. So, of course, how much is she really giving away, since later on she set fire to the house? But anyway. So Oz, so she basically puts a bounty on Oz's head. So Oz goes to City Hall and he meets with Councilman Hetty, and the councilman's like, Jesus Christ, I did what you asked. Why are you here? So basically, everything that he did, he pinned on Sophia. So he did the very thing that his father did. I'm sorry, that her father did. And I'm feeling very sorry for Sophia, because this guy is a horrible, horrible person. He is truly a monster. And obviously the police buy this. And I feel horrible for Sophia because Oz was the one who did this whole operation. I mean, granted, it was easy to pin it on Sophia simply because there was that gang war between the Maronis and the Falcones. Plus, Bliss originally came from Arkham, so it was her idea to begin with. So it was easy to pin on her, but still, I felt horrible for Sophia because she keeps getting jerked around. So Zhao calls. So he comes out of the car. Vic talks with Ling, and it sounds like that they're going to turn on Oz. At first, I wasn't sure if that meant that, when he told Vic that Sophia put a bounty on his head, on Oz's head, or if they were going to help him or turn against him. And then we see a montage. Well, first, Oz goes to meet with Sophia. Zhao calls Sophia, and it sounds like, okay, great, let me finish packing and I'll meet you at the hangar. So it sounds like he's going to get the house and he's going to get all the properties. Well, he might get the land, but the house has gone up in flames. So she meets with him, and you can tell from looking at Oz. She looks at Oz and she realizes something's wrong. But before she could say anything, Zhao is dead. And Oz has him and Sophia go for a drive, which I'm surprised Sophia agreed to this, I'm surprised she didn't say, just let me leave the country. You can have all of this, just let me leave. But she didn't. She went with Oz, which, why? Why did you do that? I mean, you know what a monster he is. You know he was a monster ever since he was a kid. So, why are you doing this? But I guess she figured that if she can't leave, that she's going to die. Because she seemed resigned to that fact. So, they're talking, and then you see a montage of all the second in commands taking out the current leaders of their respective gangs. Which, now that I think about it, how the show ended makes a hell of a lot of sense. So, like I said, Sophia thinks that Oz is going to kill her, and she seems ready and almost happy for her life to be ended. But instead, the police come and take her back to Arkham. Because he did say, you're going to hell, which she took to mean that an afterlife hell, not a literal hell of Arkham. So, she's dejected, and Oz goes by to see his mom, and, he's just talking about how, look at all this great stuff. Sophia is going back to Arkham. They bought my bullshit story. I'm going to be a big shot, blah, blah, blah. And his mom is just staring blankly out into space. And, of course, because Oz is a complete and absolute moron when it comes to anything that resembles human decency, he doesn't understand what a vegetative state means. The nurse comes in and says that they've been trying to get a hold of him, that his mother had a stroke and is in a persistent vegetative state. So he refuses to listen to the nurse. He's like, you're an idiot. You don't know anything. Get a doctor. And this happens a lot in medical situations. Families can't accept the situation of a patient because it's a loved one. So the doctors and nurses are morons, rather than, they might just, not know what the hell's going on. Just because this sucks doesn't mean the doctors don't know what they're doing. So he then breaks down. He starts crying. He begs his mother to come back. And and she is in a persistent vegetative state, but just like people here say that people who are comatose can hear what's happening, she's basically trapped in her body. So it's possible that she can hear, and based on what happened at the end, it's possible she does hear what's happening. But Oz always comes to the wrong conclusion because he is totally obsessed with his mother. I mean, like I said, it's major ew. And the ending didn't change my opinion on his love for his mother. First off, he calls his freaking mother doll. Who the fuck does that? Ew. So, he's, talking to Victor and asking if she thinks his mother forgives him. And Victor says, for what? And he stops himself. So maybe when Sophia made him try to come to grips with the fact that his mother knows the truth, he wasn't willing to accept it then, but maybe now he's willing to accept the fact that he's totally to blame for his brother's deaths. Now, I'm not completely sure if he fully grasps that or if he's just talking about all the other crap that happened since then. It could be either one, but he tells Victor for things. So that implies that he knows, that he is fully aware that his actions led to his brother's deaths. Now, he might still not realize that he locked them in. He might not fully realize the extent to how he was the instigator in their death, but at some level he understands that he had something to do with it. Or it was more of a, just that he left them there, rather than that he was the cause of their deaths. It could go either way. But then Victor said, "You're like family." And now Oz mentions that, having family around is weakness. And so he proceeds to strangle Victor. Which, I mean, Victor has been on death watch for a while, but I did not expect this. That they made a good team. Now, he said it's because, family is weakness. I can't have family around. Except for his mother, whom he's freaking in love with. And, I wonder if it isn't because of that montage of the lieutenants killing their bosses. And if it isn't more of a, if I let this continue, Victor is going to try to supplant me. So, because he does have an in with, Link. He does have an in with him. Because they seem to have a good relationship. So maybe he saw this as, if I don't kill him now, he's going to kill me later. So, but why he threw out his, went into his wallet and not just took out the money, but took out his ID and threw it into the river, that's probably going to come back to bite him in the butt. Whether it's in a second season of The Penguin or Batman 2, but that's probably going to come to bite him in the butt. But, or maybe it's supposed to be some sort of full circle callback to the fact that he killed his brothers. And maybe he now fully accepts that he locked them in and he killed them, but he's justifying it as family makes you weak. Which makes you wonder why he's trying to keep his mom with him. Except for the fact that he's really creepily in love with her. Like I said, it's not just the modern day version of Oedipus complex of a man looks for someone who reminds them of their mother. It is him literally being in love with his mother, which, when you're a little kid and you say cute things like, when I grow up, I'm going to marry you, is not the same thing as what this is. This is just, yeah. So, we see him later on in a penthouse, and he goes to see his mother, who all you see is a monitor and her still in the vegetative state. And this is where we come into her actually hearing him. And the fact that he promised her that if my mind gives out before my body, that he will shoot her. And it's not only happening, not happening, but not only is he keeping her alive, but in the worst torture because she can't talk back to him. But that's why she was always abusive. She couldn't bear herself to kill her last remaining son, but at the same time, she absolutely hated him, and that's why she was always so abusive to him, was because she knows of what he did to Jack and Benny. So he's saying how you have everything you want now, you're in a penthouse, blah 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 blah. But you're seeing a single solitary tear come out. And he assumes that that's a tear of happiness when it's probably a tear of despair. Because one, that wasn't what she wanted. She wanted Jack and Benny to be alive, and he took that from her. Everything he claims he's doing for her was never anything that she wanted. I mean, she might have pushed him to do these things, but it wasn't out of love or out of a sense of this is what she deserves and this is what she wants. She did this because she was hoping it would get him killed. That this would, that she would get rid of him in a way that she doesn't have to worry about having blood on her hands. So yeah, that tear was not a tear of joy, which Oz is so delusional that he just can't accept that his mother, number one, hates him, and that she knew all along that he was the cause of his brother's deaths. And considering he had every intention of killing Victor, I'm really surprised he didn't confess as to what happened to Jack and Benny. And so then he walks out, and we see Eve dressed like his mother, and they're dancing, and Oz wants affirmation from his ma that she loves him and she's proud of him and blah 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 blah, because he just cannot accept that before his mother suffered that stroke that left her in a vegetative state, to find out that she absolutely hates him. And he insists that Sophia and Julian did something. But deep down he knows that she truly hates him. That this woman that he is so very much in love with hates him with every core of her being because of what he did to his brothers. And this just adds to the creep factor, because not just that Eve looks so much like his mother, because we've established that boys do tend to marry their mothers. It's the fact that he's having Eve cosplay as his mother to give him positive affirmation that she loves him, she's proud of him, and that, she's so happy for the life he gave her and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, this guy is so messed up. When there was that scene of him realizing that his mom is not responding to him, and him losing his mind and breaking down, and Victor going to get the nurse, I couldn't even cry. Normally these scenes make me cry, make me sad, and this didn't, because I didn't feel sorry for him at all. I felt sorry for her, that she's basically being tortured now because she can hear everything that's going on, but she's trapped in her own body. So I felt bad for her, but I didn't feel 1 ounce of sympathy for him, because he doesn't deserve it. Back before we found out what happened to Jack and Benny, absolutely I felt bad for him. After learning what he did, no, the man is a psychopath. So no No sympathy at all for him. Now, is he a tragic figure? I don't know. I don't know if he is. Because this is a situation of his own making. So, is he really a tragic figure? I would say Sophia is more the tragic figure because outside forces screwed her over from the very beginning. So, I mean, you could say that it was really dumb of her to bring up the fact that she knows that her father was the one who killed all those women to her father. But at the same time, you know, she still wanted to believe that he isn't that. And she wanted that positive affirmation. And instead of getting that, he threw her in Arkham. So, but yeah, I feel far more sorry for Sophia. So, Sophia is back in Arkham and she's just miserable. I mean, she's staring out into space. You can see that she's just checked out. She's just despondent. And Julian is back as psychiatrist. Now, given the relationship and what he was willing to do for her, I'm actually surprised that they were going to let him be her psychiatrist again. But, you know, corruption is rampant in Arkham, so I guess that makes sense. And he gives her her mail. And one is from her half-sister, Selina Kyle. Now, in the Batman movie, Selina mentioned her sister. I can't remember if she said half-sister or sister, who was wrongfully thrown into Arkham. And that's why she hated Carmine, because she knew that Carmine was the reason why Sophia ended up in Arkham. So, I don't know if... So, the Penguin starts as a... Now, it's supposed to be a continuation after the Riddler floods Arkham. So, but in a way, it's also a backstory to explain further the Batman. Because Selina mentions her half-sister, but she doesn't actually give a name. We didn't know it was Sophia. So, yeah. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see if Sophia's story continues in the second Batman movie, if there's going to be a second season of The Penguin, which she escapes. Because I honestly thought that when Julian came in, that it wasn't just going to be a mail call, that he was going to actually help her escape Arkham. I mean, this man is totally in love with her. Or maybe by then he's figured out that, you know, she said she's leaving Gotham, and it's possible she was planning on leaving without either A, telling Julian, or B, without him. So maybe even though he still has feelings for her, maybe he's finally come to grips with the fact that she doesn't see him that way. And that's why he's just doing his job, you know, like giving mail call and keeping an eye on her rather than actually helping her get out. Because she had plans on leaving, so it could have been very easy to get out of Arkham and get, you know, her hop on a plane and get out. Now, I was hoping that there would be a voiceover of either Selina or Sophia doing a voiceover reading the letter that she got from Selina, but she did smile. So it sounds like like I said, either in Batman 2 or maybe second season of The Penguin or a different show, where Selina is going to manage to get Sophia out. And probably the way that they're going to do it is to get the evidence that it was actually Oz who did all this stuff and not Sophia. And same thing with the hangman thing, that it was actually Carmine and not Sophia who did that. So hopefully, so that might be the plot of Batman 2. Like I said, it could be part of a TV show, but I'm thinking that it's going to be Batman 2 and that they're going to manage to get Sophia out of there. Now, what's going to happen after that, if they're going to send Sophia off, or if she's going to become either an ally of the Batman, like Selina is, or if she's going to become an anti-hero, or what's going to happen to Sophia. But yeah, that's probably going to be the plot. That it's going to be, because this version of Batman is back to the world's greatest detective, he's going to figure out that Oz was the one who did this and is going to get Sophia freed. And he's going to do this because of Selina. Because Selina's going to come back to Gotham to help her, because at the end of the Batman movie she left. Let's see if there's anything else I missed. The only thing that, even though it kind of sort of makes sense in my mind because of all the lieutenants killing their bosses, I still feel that the killing of Victor was kind of out of left field. It just seemed like, I mean, based on what I mentioned, it kind of makes sense. But the explanation Oz gave was rather weird because, again, he's with his mother. And if family was truly a weakness, he wouldn't have his mother there. He wouldn't have Eve there. It just doesn't make sense. It's not following through. But otherwise, wow, that was quite an episode and quite a show. I don't know if they're going to do a season 2. Personally, I would love it. But because this was so good, but I guess it depends where things end up at the Batman 2. Because this is an alternate version. You know, this isn't the 616. But what are we on? Earth Prime, New Earth? What is the main Earth on for DC at this point? I do not know. They've had so many reboots, I can't follow along. So maybe this is an alternate version where the Penguin actually dies. I mean, that's always a possibility. Or he might end up in Arkham, because why not? The Riddler's there, the Joker's there. Why not put Oz there as well? Because unlike Sophia, he totally deserves to be in Arkham. Let's see. I believe that is all I have for this video. And I will see you guys in the next one.